Whatever goal you have, remember, work is required to get it and to keep it. Hey there, fashion designers of the future. We are going to sketch today a lovely pose where one leg is in front of the other and it's bent. And then we are going to paint. So, going ahead and get started. You know it. Horny Alex was caught French kissing Carrie Ann's grandmother. All of my students at Trade Tech, you know exactly what I'm talking about. For those of you who don't know what I'm talking about, Horny Alex was caught French kissing Carrie Ann's grandmother tells you all of the places that you're going to put labels. The H is for head, the A is for apex, the W is for waist, etc. All right, going ahead, join with me. We have a left shoulder and a right shoulder happening. The left one's higher. And our waist is an opposite guideline from our shoulder. Going ahead and put in a bust guideline. And then make your smile on the right side just a tiny bit to the right of your side so you can see a little bit of that profile. Next up, we are going to put in a guideline for the shoulder. It's going to be with the letter N as in Nancy. So go on ahead and put that in place. And once you have that, that's the top of your left shoulder. Next, go to your elongated crotch. Now the right side of the hip is more curved. The left side is flatter. So notice the left side is closer to the center. And then the width of the shoulder is also the width of your hip. And find your new center, put in your bikini bottoms. Okay, center of the leg on the right, find the middle, drag it down. Once you get to 8, cross over to the left. Now put in your knee socket at 6, drag out that upper thigh. And now the next thing is your calf muscles, the short parenthesis. Now ankle socket and drag down that calf muscle. Now our foot. Remember the inside, or the left in this case, is longer because the big toe, and then the right is shorter because the baby toe. All right, next find the center of leg number 2. Put the knee socket under the first socket and drag the upper thigh down to that knee socket and wrap it around. That's the right side of the knee socket. Now the back is the left side. And now drag the line down as a guideline to the left of center from your knee socket. Put in your ankle socket and simply drag down from knee to ankle. Remember the calf muscle there on the left is more round. Make sure your toe is longer on the right and shorter on the left because that big toe is on the right and the baby toe is on the left. Then go on ahead and clean it up by just erasing what's in the middle. So leg 2 pops out. Remember the secret here is that we put the knee socket for leg number 2 underneath and slightly to the right of leg number 1. All right, next we are going to do the guidelines for the arm. So on the left side, we have our shoulder already with the letter N. And now we're going to add the rest of that arm. So the guideline goes straight down, slightly left, and then bending it at the elbow. Now measure. Shoulder to waist is shoulder to elbow. And then waist to crotch is elbow to wrist. Go on ahead and measure and drag those down. Then, of course, putting in your hand, the thumb is on the inside. I'll let you continue. You know what to do from here. We are adding extra fingers. So, with that being said, make sure you put a straight line for your middle finger and it's longer, and then a straight line and a J for your ring finger, and then a shorter straight line, the shortest of all, for your pinky. Go on ahead, clean it all up, and then add in your details for the neck and the collarbone. Now let's sneak in the arm on the right side. We're just going to hide it. So straight line down from the shoulder and add a little flesh on the outsides of those lines. Make sure to bend at the elbow waist. There we are. Line and then fleshing it out on the left and right sides of that straight line. All right, next up, we grab tracing paper. Trace the whole thing. Remember, you always draw first. Feel free to draw as much as you want on your drawing paper. That's your initial sketch. Now get tracing paper, put it on top, trace the lines that you want. This is your chance to make sure that you characterize your sketch because you can see through your tracing paper. So keep the lines that you like and make whatever adjustments you want to make right now on the tracing paper. Okay, now that we've traced, we are going to take that tracing paper, flip it over so you can have the lead side facing your watercolor paper. I've taped two pieces together here to make one long piece. So take your tracing paper, flip it over so that the lead side is facing your watercolor paper. And then next we're just going to grab the back of a marker and we're going to rub to transfer so that you can have a beautiful sketch on your watercolor paper without drawing on it directly. So make sure you push hard enough so that that lead comes off of the tracing paper and lands on the watercolor paper. All right, I will let you do that. Go on ahead, continue rubbing your tracing paper with the lead side facing down on the watercolor paper. Now what I'm gonna do is just take my lead pencil and I am actually going to darken my lines, but don't do that. Try to keep your lines as light as possible, but I actually need to darken so you can see what I'm doing as I paint. Otherwise you won't recognize what I'm doing. But on your paper, do not darken like I'm doing right now. This is just strictly so you can see what I'm doing on video and on the camera. All right, now I'm just gonna draw in the dress. I followed the body until I got to the knee. The right side of our dress is going to feel longer like a train. And I'm gonna just do a series of smiles and frowns for the folds at the bottom of this dress. So I'm making wavy lines going up and down at the hem so that I can capture the folds. That's one thing you will need to add to your sketch, but very lightly, again, as lightly as you possibly can. I'm gonna make a diagonal seam for this dress, but you can design your dress however you would like to. Next up, we're gonna mix the paint. So I'm gonna be using a blue color. For this demo, I'm gonna use one shade of blue. It is the medium blue on my palette. So go on ahead, get your water, get all set up, and we wanna make a darker blue that has more paint and put that in one area. And then we want a lighter blue that's more see-through, and that one has more water. Put that in a second area. So as you can see here, this is my darker blue that is more paint. And next I'm gonna mix up a lighter one that's more water and it'll feel more translucent. And here we are with the lighter one that is gonna be more water, so that it'll be more see-through and translucent. All right, so in the middle of each of our folds, we're gonna put in 2 lines close together. That's gonna be the lightest point on the fold. All right, now we're gonna paint on the left and the right with our see-through color, the one that's more watery. So we are on the left of that middle and the right of that middle. This is more watery, more see-through. And we're leaving that center for now white. Now we go into the one that has more paint, more pigment. It's darker, and we put that on the left and the right of our first set of strokes. And make sure the bottom of it is more triangular. So now we're starting to get that sense of depth. After you put in your darker on the left and the right sides, remembering to make it triangular at the bottom, clean off your brush with water and wipe it. And now touch the right line of our darker tone to blend it. And then touch the left side of the line to blend it. So the outer edges on the far left and the far right stay dark, but we're blending it where the dark meets the light. Let's repeat. Draw in 2 lines close together at the middle of the fold. Remember, that's the frown portion if you look at the hem. Get your see-through paint on your brush, that watery, put it on the left and the right of that middle, leaving the white space in the center. Then get the darker tone, put that on the far left and the far right, making sure to make the bottom more triangular. Then you're gonna need to clean that brush so that we can make the transition softer. And notice I'm going up higher on the darker blue. Make it uneven, sometimes higher on the right, sometimes higher on the left. Now look there, I'm just blending the right side of that line here where the dark meets the light, just with dirty water. And I'm blending the left side of that stroke here, again, just with dirty water, so that we get a gradient. So it goes, the outer edges are darker, and then it gets gradually lighter, and then the center is the lightest yet. Let's repeat. Draw in those 2 lines representing the white at the top of the fold, and then on the left side, start with your see-through. Notice I went even higher on there. You want to be uneven because those folds are uneven in real life. And now that I've done that with the see-through, I'm going to add the darks on the far left and the far right, making sure to keep the bottom closest to the hem more triangular in shape. So now that I'm adding in this darker on the far left and the far right, my next step, you guessed it, clean that brush. And now we want to go back and blend. So clean it on the water and now blend. So here, notice wherever the dark blue touches the light blue, I am blending it by just pushing the color over into the light blue. And once you do that enough times, it'll start to become second nature. Here on the right side, I blend the left area because that's where it touches the light blue. And I'm pushing my brush from the bottom going upward so I can blend. Because this is watercolor paper, you will have to do a first round of all the folds, and then you'll need to come back and let it dry and do a second round, maybe even a third. Okay, repeating. I'm drawing in those 2 lines in the middle, and on the left side is my see-through color, and I'm going to do the same on the right side. Those 2 lines in the middle just remind me where the light is on that fold. Okay, now on the left side of each, I am going on ahead and putting in the darker, making it more triangular shaped at the bottom. And then on the far right side of each fold, there's those darker tones, making the right side feel darker at the bottom and more triangular. So we're just repeating this lesson. Clean that brush. Now go back to your left side and push that color towards the right. So notice you basically are just picking up the color and pushing it. Clean the brush again. On the right side, push the color towards the left. That's how you get to blend and start to take away some of the harsh line that feels really hard to look at. Because when you put the dark blue next to the light blue, it is a harsh line. Our goal is to blend. So this process gets repeated for as many folds as you have. So draw in your center wherever the top of your fold happens to be. Going ahead with your see-through color, that's much more water. Put that on the left and the right, leaving that clear see-through tiny little bit of white in the middle. Once you have that, add in your darker tone on the left and the right. Don't forget, make it more triangular shaped at the bottom so it's wider at the bottom closest to the ground. So whatever shapes of folds you have, repeat this same process for each one. All right, I'll shut up now and let you do it. Okay, now I switch to a little bit bigger brush, and I am repeating this process, going on my left side, and now I'm filling in these back areas. So I'm not working on the fold specifically. I'm starting from the far left and filling in between the folds. That's why I moved to a bigger brush. So I am using that color that is darker, that's not quite so see-through, but I'm using it just the tip of it. So don't dunk your whole brush in. Just use the tip of your brush, just the point. And now as you get closer to that fold, leave a tiny little bit of white. So don't touch the fold completely. Okay, so notice here I'm filling in behind fold number 1. I'm on the right side of fold 1, starting from the bottom going up. And notice the little tiny bits of white. Same thing here. I'm going to the next fold, and every time I go to fill in, I want to make sure to leave some tiny bits of white. Very, very, very small amounts help to make it feel more realistic. And now I'm filling in behind fold number 3. So this is your darker color, but I'm using it very lightly. And we are just simply filling in behind each fold. So the folds are going to come to the front, and then the parts behind the folds will feel like they are going to the back. I am using that darker color with more pigment, but I'm just barely touching my paintbrush into the color. That allows you to control. And remember, as you're filling in each area behind the fold, leave a tiny bit of white space right next to the fold. A very thin line of white space next to each fold helps the fold to stand out. Now, because I'm on the far right edge, I'm going to go on ahead and darken a tiny bit, because even though that's my light source side, I need to pull out the actual edge. All right, go back to the beginning, and now notice I'm darkening my left side, still with the medium brush. But notice the left side feels darker, the right side feels lighter. We are just going to simply repeat this entire process until you get the depth that you like. Remember, we are always painting from the bottom up when we are dealing with the folds. Try to be mindful of keeping the white spaces, and then touch your fold at the very, very bottom edges. If it feels like it's getting too slippery and too loose, you can go on ahead and define those frowns and smiles. But for now, From the bottom up, go with round 2, and then let it dry, and then maybe do a round 3 or a 4 if you need to. All right, now I'm mixing in another set of color for my 3rd time around, and I'm going to add some black to it so that I can have deeper shadows still. And those are going to go on the far left and far right edges of each fold. So just add a little bit of black to your paint, and then go in and start on those left and right sides of the folds, adding in the color. Just a little bit at a time from the bottom up. See, by adding in the blacks, it just deepens the shadow tones. And remember, you're still on your far left side because the shadow is more prominent for us on our far left side. The right side is our light source. That just makes it simple. We do that same thing every time. You can switch it up, but for purposes of being consistent for exercises and practice, we keep it the same. And notice here I've switched to my smaller brush as well so that I can define the frowns and the smiles at the hemline. Just a little bit of black, starting from the bottom up. Define your hemline and darken on the left and right sides of each fold. Don't get rid of your whites. Keep the light in the middle of each fold. All right, keep going. We're going to do more of the same. From the bottom up, darken the left side of your fold and darken the right side of your fold, and define your bottom edge with your frown and smile. I'm using the tinier brush. This is our details. This is my third time passing through, but you might want to go over yours 4 or 5 times. It just depends on how much color you have on your brush. Ooh, it looks good. Keep going, keep going. It's starting to come together. Okay, I'm just going to repeat this process with the see-through color, the one that's much more translucent. I'm just going to continue until I feel I have enough depth in the actual color that I personally want. So this is preference. All right, now that I feel I have enough depth for my folds, I'm gonna start moving upward. And you simply just wanna carry these colors up. So starting in some of the area that's already painted, leaving a little bit of line that is white space, going ahead and fill in upward. Try to start on top of the paint, like I said, that is below, and push and make your strokes go up and down as the fold naturally goes up and down. Folds are unpredictable, they're uneven, so you want to make sure that you do the same with your strokes. Some start higher, some are going to be lower. And start from the bottom and just push that paint following upward, leaving some white linear spaces. All right, friends, that's it for part 1 of how to do your folds. I'll finish this up with a part 2, but I think you got it. This can apply to a skirt. It can apply to a dress in this case. It can be on a sleeve. You can do this type of full detail on a neckline, wherever you want. The world is yours. Go get it. Remember, work is going to be required to get whatever you want and to keep it. But you got this. Do the work. You'll get the results.